All right, welcome to this recording. We are going to be talking about how to generate 20 plus leads per week using Facebook and also Instagram. So, throughout the class, I'm mostly going to be talking about Facebook, but please realize everything I'm going to talk about as far as lead generation today, 100% of it can be duplicated on Instagram with a check of the box. And so, I just get tired of saying Facebook and Instagram. So, please realize everything I was saying today is relevant for both of them. So today, what we're going to be talking about is using social media, Facebook, Instagram, specifically for the purpose of generating real estate leads. And so that is going to be our content for the day. So let me just kind of go through this and introduce the class, and we'll get things going. So one of the things I get asked all the time is, Kevin, can I get a copy of the slides? So yeah, absolutely. Feel free to use the QR code here. It'll take you to a link. It'll ask you just for your information so that I can email you a link or email you the link to download the slides. But you absolutely can get them there. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me, let me just give you the 2-minute version of me and my background. So this picture of me and my family, me and my wife, we've been married um, 28 years now, going on 29, which is awesome. She's the love of my life. She is awesome. We have 2 kids, and in the picture in the center, so that's my son. He's our oldest in the blue shirt behind me. And then my daughter is the one in the back. And she's our youngest. And then within the last couple of years, my son has gotten married. So on the picture on the bottom, that's her. And then they just had a beautiful little girl. That's me holding her over on the side. That's our first grandbaby, and she is absolutely adorable. She's about 7 months now, and just absolutely thrilled to have her in our life. So, yeah, that's a little bit about us. Kind of my background and story. I'll give you the short version of it. When I was a 22-year-old kid, I went and got my real estate license and just figured that was the way I was going to make all my money on this planet. And I was so naive about real estate. I really just figured that the way that I was going to get all my business was I had a license. I thought people were just going to line up and do business with me. And obviously, that is not the case. And so I struggled. I went and talked to my broker, and he said, call for sale by owners and do open houses and do this and do that. And I tried lots of different things. And most of it, frankly, just didn't produce the results that I was looking for. The long story short, I didn't know how to generate business. But the one thing that I learned in watching and observing the people who were doing a lot of business was that the top producers were also the top marketers, right? And I hope that's one of the lessons you take from today's class. The top producers are also the top marketers. So I got out of the business. I lasted a little bit, about a little less than 2 years, was about how long I lasted. And I'm a super competitive person. Like, it bothered me that I didn't know how to generate business. So I spent the next 15 years studying everything I could about marketing, lead development, lead generation, business development, systems, marketing, you name it. I just wanted to learn how to solve my own problem. And that's really what it was. So I took all those pieces, I put together a marketing system for real estate agents. I started teaching it to them. And as they implemented it, their business was growing at a very rapid rate. And so that is how all of this started. I didn't graduate from high school and say, what I want to really do with my life is help real estate agents market their business. It's not what happened. It really just became, um, it really just was an opportunity for me to help people solve the problem that I had, and that's how all of this started. Since that time, generated over 100,000 leads now on social media for our clients. Was recently awarded as one of the top 25 real estate coaches in the country. And I don't say all that to brag because, quite honestly, other than me, probably nobody cares. But it's really just to let you know this is my background. The reason why I can teach what I teach and what you're going to learn today is simply because I know it works. And what you're going to learn in today's class is you're not going to learn theory, right? That's one of my guarantees to you. I'm going to teach you the actual, I'm going to show you the actual screenshots, the numbers, the examples, the data from what we have of years and years and years and years of doing this. And so you're going to benefit from all of that today. So today, our objectives, let me just kind of go through these. First of all, one of the first things we're going to cover is the 5 marketing myths surrounding Facebook that are probably sabotaging your results. See, what I've learned is that after teaching thousands of real estate agents is that they tend to get stuck in the same patterns over and over again. And so I need to spend a little time unteaching you what you think you know so that we can get you past the things that are keeping you stuck and show you a different way of doing it. So, current strategies, we're going to be showing you actual campaigns that our clients are using today, things that are producing results in the current market. We're going to talk about stopping the waste. Why, if you've been boosting posts in the past, why you don't want to do that. It's not in your best interest. If you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say boosting a post, that's not a problem. We'll explain it as we get there. It's not that big of a deal, but just realize it's not in your best interest. The conversion blueprint, one of the things that you're going to need to learn is not just how to generate a lead, but how do we take that lead and ultimately turn it into business, right? How do we make that transition from lead generation to lead conversion? We're going to walk you through the best practices, the things that we've learned that will help you increase how many of those leads turn into business. And then, like I said, the bonus, this is kind of a newer section I've added to the class, the 4X conversion formula, how we can actually quadruple your success rate using these strategies and principles. So that is our agenda, and that is what we're going to be covering over the next, it's probably going to be about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes that it's going to take us to get through this. So with that being said, there are basically 4 barriers blocking your real estate business growth. So, like I mentioned, one of the things that I did was I put together a marketing system based on the common limitations or the common roadblocks that agents have of being able to move. So, number one is they just don't generate enough leads, right? They just have a deficit of how many leads they're generating. So, that's one of the first problems that we want to help you fix is having a constant flow of new leads and new opportunities coming in. That's really the focal point of today's class is how do we fill up your pipeline and do so very quickly, very inexpensively. The second part of the system is, again, once we've got that, now it's about conversion. So some of it is the short-term follow-up, so the phone calls, the texts, the emails, and then some of it is our long-term nurture, which I'm going to walk you through both of those as we talk about conversion. The third one is relationships, right? One of the one of the things that I find super interesting is that if you ask most agents where most of their business comes from every year, with very few exceptions, everyone always says it comes from repeat business or it comes from referrals from people that they know. And then when you ask them what they're doing to market to those people, they usually 3 out of every 4 agents I personally talk to, they're not doing anything to market to that group of people. And it's a huge missed opportunity. I'm not going to get into it a lot in today's class, but one of the things that we really promote and love to do and help our clients with is help them market to their database, their relationships directly through social media. What a lot of people don't realize is you can take your contact list, your past clients, your sphere of influence, anyone that you want to include, we can actually upload that list into your ad account inside Facebook and Instagram, and it allows us to be able to run targeted ads to them. And it's extremely inexpensive. It's one of my favorite strategies that I love to do with our clients because when you're running an ad and showing those ads to your contact list, it usually costs around 1 to 2 cents every time you're showing an ad to those people. So if you have a list of say 500 people, it's going to cost you about $5 to $10 to get your ad in front of those people. Isn't that insane? See, if you were to do a postcard mailing to 500 or 1,000 people, that's going to cost you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right? And that's why for what you would spend for one mailing or one postcard, I could show you how to market to that same group of people for an entire year, every week, for the same amount of money, right? It's just insanely inexpensive. So that's a massive part of our strategy is keeping you in front of your warm market, those relationships, because that is where a lot of your business is going to come from. And then the fourth area is brand and visibility. Like I said, most people are invisible, and it's the biggest problem in their business. I firmly believe, from a marketing standpoint, if more people knew who you were, if they knew your background, if they knew your qualifications, if they knew those things, you would have more business. But the problem is, people don't know those things about you, and that's why you don't have as much business as you would like. So this is a large part of our marketing system, and these are really just those critical barriers that we help agents address with the services that we provide, both the coaching and the done for you services that we do. So it all looks like this, that basically the strategy is, at a minimum, we want to have 2 ads running at all times. So on the right side of this diagram where it talks about lead sources, we want to have 1 ad focused on generating new leads, getting new people into this funnel, to where we can keep marketing to them over and over again. There's a variety of ways that we do it. I'm going to show you a lot of those as we progress through the class today. But that's the first ad, is we want to have leads coming in. Then the second ad is not focused on lead generation. We've already generated the lead. Now it's the left side of this diagram, which is about creating trust. Simply because my experience in real estate is that, to a large extent, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And so much of the lead conversion process is all about that. It's about building trust. And so I've got an entire section of today's class where we're going to be talking about what it takes to convert leads, and the systems and the strategies and everything that we need to have in place for that. But this is the strategy: 1 ad generating leads, creating those new opportunities, and a second ad at a minimum focused on building trust, building credibility, establishing your authority. And that just pushes them further and further into this funnel, and to the point where they get to the bottom, where they are ready to buy or sell, and you're the one that they want to work with. So that's kind of our strategy and the playbook. Now, the first section of today's class is all about the 5 myths of Facebook marketing. And like I said, I need to spend a little time unteaching you some of the things you've probably heard and accepted as truth. And there's a good chance those are the things that are actually holding you back. So let's go ahead and move forward. So lead generation is one thing that everyone should take seriously, because it literally determines how much money you can make in this business. Again, the top producers are not the best agents. Top producers are the top marketers. And that's what I want to beat into your head today, is we need to ramp up your marketing skills, the things that you're doing, because that's going to determine how much money you can make. So this is what lead generation used to look like, right? It's what it's looked like for a long time. So on the left side of the slide, I've got time, and these are things that you can do to generate leads that, for the most part, don't cost really anything, but it just takes your time. On the right side, you've got money. So things that you would typically spend your money on to promote your business. So like buying leads, bus benches, billboards, TV ads, flyers, postcards, et cetera, et cetera. But what lead gen used to look like is you do any or all of these. And then maybe you end up getting some clients, right? This is what it's looked like for so long. And so what you want to understand is, most agents, their production over time looks very much like this graph. And so there's highs and lows, just like a roller coaster. And what ends up happening is, let's take one of the low parts, like one of the low sections of the graph. And I like to call that the oh crap phase, right? Oh crap, I don't have a lot going on. And so when agents get to that point where there's not a lot going on in their business, they tend to do a lot of marketing, a lot of prospecting, right? And it works. And so now they've gone up this slope, and now they've got all these buyers and sellers that they're working with. But the problem is, they're so busy working with those clients, the buyers and sellers, they don't have time to do the marketing and prospecting that got them busy to begin with. And so now they've got these clients, all that business closes. And because you haven't been marketing and prospecting, now we slide back down, right? And so we just keep going through these waves over and over and over again. And the cycle just keeps repeating itself. One of the things you're going to love about the strategy I'm going to teach you today is, it's going to help you solve this problem to where it's more of just an incline over time, without all these massive hills and valleys, right? And so we want to make sure that this cycle doesn't repeat, because if you never find a solution to this is what your production is going to look like for your entire career, right? And so today we're going to help you address that. Now, the problem with using any of the lead generation methods that require your time is that time is a limited resource. You always are going to run out of time no matter what. And so, again, all those things that you're doing when you're not busy become a problem when you are. You no longer have time to knock on doors, to cold call, to prospect for sell by owners. You no longer have the time to do the things on this list. And so, anytime you're doing anything to promote your business that requires your time, you are always limited. That's the lesson, right? Now, some people try to solve the time problem and they think, well, the way I'm going to solve that is I'm just going to go to Zillow, Realtor.com, any of those sources, and I'm going to buy some leads. And they think that's the way that they're going to fix it. But let's just kind of review that. In most cases, when you buy leads, it's often upwards of $100 or more per lead. If you do the math of how much you're spending and how many leads they're giving you, it's usually around $100 per lead when you do the math, right? The other problem is they're usually not exclusive, meaning they're selling the same ad to or the same lead to multiple agents. And so you're literally paying to compete with other agents, right? I've never understood why you want to spend $100 on a lead to compete with other agents on that same lead. It never made sense to me. I don't get that, right? And at the end of the day, regardless of what the source is, what you're buying is a cold lead. Cold doesn't mean bad. It just means they don't know you and you don't know them. There's no prior relationship. And so because of that, cold leads are the hardest leads in the industry to convert, right? Statistically speaking, it's around 1%. And that's what makes this challenging. So again, 2% is what most people expect or most people experience when they're buying leads from Zillow, Realtor.com, those kinds of sources. And the other problem with these companies is they're not promoting you and your business. They're not helping you with that visibility or the branding. They're just simply giving you a name, a phone number, an email address, and that's about it, right? And so you're not really moving your business forward at all because you're not building any kind of reputation in the area for the most part, right? You've still got that invisible problem. So I believe that Facebook is one of the most powerful marketing tools on the planet for the following reasons. Number one, they have one of the biggest user bases of any of the social media platforms out there. You'll see all kinds of stats about the number of user accounts and all of that. And frankly, I don't pay too much attention to that. But the one number that I do pay attention to is the number of daily active users, which right now on Facebook, as of the recording of this, June 2025, um, it's over 2 billion daily active users. Isn't that insane? Instagram is like the next closest. I want to say it's around 700 million. Again, not even half. And so it's just not even close. Okay, the second reason that I love Facebook as a marketing system is because Facebook has tons of data. I've never been able to verify it, but on average, the number I hear is that Facebook has 4,500 points of data per user on their platform. 4,500. Isn't that incredible? Um, if you've ever worried about Big Brother watching what you're doing, Facebook is the biggest Big Brother I know. But the flip side of that coin is the moment you decide to become an advertiser on their platform, guess what Facebook does with all of that data? They willingly give it to you and let you use it to help you market your business. It's a massive, massive advantage. And that's part of the reason that I love this. And part of the reason they have so much information on us is because we willingly share our life with Facebook. We tell it where we're going and the food we like to eat and our profession, our family, our relationship status, even if it's complicated, kids, books that we're reading, movies that we're watching, you name it. And so, because we willingly share all that, Facebook has all of that data. It's just a massive advantage when it comes to marketing. And then the last one is it's the lowest advertising cost of anything I have ever seen. Now, I'm going to give you a challenge at the beginning of this class, and the challenge is this. If you can show me what you're doing to market your business for less than what I'm going to show you today, then I'd love to have a conversation with you outside of this class, just to get a better idea of what you're doing to, especially for lead generation. But when you see the numbers, it's going to blow you away because I've just never found anything that competes with it. So here's what tends to happen when people first get started with Facebook marketing. They'll hear somebody like me talk about how awesome social media is. And so they buy in. They decide to create an account, they build a page, whatever that looks like. And, usually they'll post once a day, once a week, twice a day, I don't know, whatever frequency it is that they come up with. And so what tends to happen is you're creating content, you're posting lots of stuff. And what tends to happen is you get a few likes, a few shares, a few comments. But for the most part, that's it. You're not really generating any tangible business. And so because it's not producing closings, what tends to happen is you say, Facebook sucks, it doesn't work, and you decide to spend your time, your money, and your effort somewhere else. And any of that sound familiar? Right? This is the pattern of what tends to happen when people get started with social media. So this is why I need to peel the curtains back a little bit, let you see what's really going on so that you understand why what you're doing right now is probably not producing the results that you're looking for. So the way that I learned this is the exact same thing happened to me. I went to a class and somebody said, social media is awesome. So I did it. I built a page, posted lots of stuff, did that for a long time, and nothing happened. I generated no business results from it. And so I'm one of those people that I'm wired a little bit differently. When somebody tells me something works and I do it and it doesn't work, that drives me crazy. And I have to go figure out why. So I did a deep dive on Facebook and started studying tons of businesses, both inside the industry as well as outside the real estate industry, finding what was working, what was producing their success. And what I found was that really no exceptions, 100% of the businesses that I personally studied, none of them were building a page, posting lots of stuff, and praying that it worked. None of them were doing that, right? And so what I learned was that what most people advise you to do with social media, it doesn't produce the results that it says it does. It's one of those things that drives me and probably you crazy, trying to figure out what does work and why not. And that's why I want to show you, peel the curtains back and show you what's going on. So the 5 myths of Facebook marketing, and you've probably heard some of these, if not all of them at some point. The first myth people will teach you is that your success is all about the frequency of how often you post. I'm going to show you why that's not true. The second thing is people will teach you that organic results, organic is just a word that means free. Um, there's a lot of things you can do for free. You can build a page, you can post, you can do all kinds of stuff for free. And they'll say that's the way to get results. Absolutely not true. I'm going to break down each one of these and show you why. The third myth that people will teach you is that your success is largely based on how large of a following you build. Also not true. It's terrible advice. When you see the numbers, it'll blow your mind. It's just not true. The fourth thing people teach you is great content produces more leads, and also not true. There's no relationship to the content that you're posting and the number of leads that you generate. To a large extent, they're just two separate things. And then the last myth is that Facebook marketing is really expensive. You already know my feelings on that. I've never found anything better. And so I'm going to show you the numbers and do a breakdown. But the truth of the matter is, if your intent is to use social media as a tool to generate leads and create new opportunities, then the truth is none of these things really matter to you, right? They're irrelevant for what we're doing. And the reason why is because the 5 truths of Facebook marketing are these. Number 1, posting more often doesn't increase the number of leads that you generate. Again, no correlation between that. Number 2, organic results on Facebook these days are almost non-existent. Again, organic just means free. The third thing is that followers for your page are an absolute waste of time, money, and effort because in most cases, they're never going to see what you're posting anyway, right? It'll blow your mind when I show you. The fourth thing is that great content doesn't create new customers, right? In fact, when I break that one down, it's a little silly. You'll probably laugh at it, but it just doesn't make sense. And then the fifth one is that Facebook is one of the least expensive forms of marketing out there. Again, I'm going to show you the numbers. It'll surprise you. So let's go through each one of these in detail. So first one, how often you post has nothing to do with the number of leads that you generate. So when you listen to a lot of other people about social media, they all have their magic formula that you should be posting once a day, twice a day, three times a day, whatever their magic number is. And so you can run that science experiment. You can commit to doing it and do it for 90 days or 6 months or however long you want to do it. I've done that science experiment. And did it increase the number of leads that I generated? No, it didn't change anything, right? Um, and so just because you're posting more often, it doesn't double or there's no measurable increase in the leads that you generate. So again, if this principle were true, that how often you posted had any kind of impact on the number of leads you generate, then it would work like this. In theory, if posting once meant I generated one lead, then if I want two leads, in theory, I should post twice. But you'll notice that if you double how many times you post, it doesn't double how many leads you generate. There's just no correlation there. And so the funny thing is, you probably know this as a consumer. You've just never thought about it as a real estate professional or a business owner. So you probably have businesses that you follow on social media for whatever reason, right? Are you counting their posts? And if they hit a certain number, are you like, hey, they posted 3 times today. I guess I should do business with them, right? It just doesn't make sense. It has nothing to do with it. And the reason why I talk about this is because, um, the reason I talk about it is because most real estate agents, one of the major objections that I hear all the time as to why they don't want to market on social media is they'll say, Kevin, I just don't want to spend my life on Facebook or Instagram. I don't want to spend all my day just creating content and posting. And my response is fantastic. You don't need to. In fact, what you're going to love about the system I'm going to share with you today is that my clients who are generating 20 plus leads in a week, do you know how many times they're posting per week? Once, one time per week. That's it. And so if you can commit to that, then you're going to love what I have to share with you. I'm going to show you how that works, right? It's not about how often you post. It's just a completely different strategy. See, the second myth that people will teach you is that organic results these days on Facebook, they'll tell you that's the way to go, but they're really non-existent. And here's why. So again, organic just means it's free. So when we talk about organic reach, it's the number of people who have seen your content for free, right? You didn't have to pay for it. Now, why doesn't organic reach work? Here's the answer. This is a quote from a guy named Brad Boland. He's a vice president at Facebook. I don't know if he still is, but at the time he said this, he was. So I call that a credible source. Anyway, we'll talk about the quote here in just a second, but there's a word in the quote that he uses, and I want to make sure we talk about it just so that we're on the same page. He uses the term newsfeed. So the newsfeed is the compilation of all the posts that you're scrolling through. So if you're on your desktop, it's the center section of all the posts that you're scrolling through. That's the newsfeed. If you're on your mobile device, it's all the posts that you see as you're scrolling through. That is the newsfeed. Okay. So with that in mind, here's what he says. He says, first, there's simply too much content being published on Facebook, making visibility in the newsfeed increasingly competitive. Second, Facebook is deliberately trying to show people the content that is most relevant to them as opposed to surfacing all the content available. So if we break down what he's saying, he's basically saying there's so much content we can't possibly show all of it to you. So we have to have some kind of filter or mechanism to know what content to put in front of you and what content not to show you. Okay, this mechanism, this filter, If you've ever heard the term Facebook algorithm, this is exactly what we're talking about. The algorithm is the formula that Facebook uses to know what content to show you and what content not to show you, right? So the question is, well, how would they determine that? What would be part of the algorithm? So profession is certainly a part of it. I would suspect as real estate professionals, you probably see lots of real estate content on Facebook. That is intentional, right? Second, interests, things that you're interested in. And they measure that by things you search, things you click on, videos that you watch, posts that you engage with, click, like, comment, share. They measure it based on all those metrics. So the more of those things you're doing, they know, hey, they like this content. It's time to show them more of that. Conversations. Does Facebook show you information based on conversations that you have? Like voice recognition? The answer is yes. That is absolutely a thing. The way they do that is for those of you who use Facebook Messenger, they had you agree to the terms and conditions of using that, right? Before you could use it. And what you didn't read in that in the terms and conditions is that they have access to your camera and your microphone, and so they're listening. And so if they hear you talking about something, they can absolutely surface content to you related to that conversation. It had nothing to do with anything you did online, but that is absolutely true. AI, artificial intelligence, is doing more and more of this as well. But the one thing I do want to talk about a lot here in this section is this question. And the question is, do you think Facebook caters to advertisers on their platform? Okay. If you think the answer to that question is no, you're kidding yourself. Okay. Here's the way that you can tell that they absolutely cater the rules of Facebook to their advertisers. So anytime you log on to Facebook, what you're going to see is the same thing every time, like clockwork. You feel free to pull out Facebook and test this. But the first post that you see, the moment you log on, it's going to be a post that is highly relevant to you. It's either going to be something you frequently engage with, a person you're closely connected with, content you often search for. In some way, shape, or form, that first post is going to be very important to you, right? They do that intentionally because the thought process is if they like that piece of content, then they're likely to scroll to the next one. See, your attention is the commodity that they are fighting for. Okay, your attention is the commodity that they are fighting for. Now, the way that you can tell they cater to advertisers is because what do you think the second post is? Like clockwork. You guessed it, it's an ad. And the way that you know it's an ad is right underneath the name of the company or person that posted it, it'll say sponsored. Sponsored is just a polite word that means paid advertisement. You can scroll through your feed from that point, and every fifth or sixth post, like clockwork, guess what it is? You guessed it. It's an ad. Remember how I told you earlier that 100% of the businesses that I studied that were doing a lot of business through social media, it wasn't based on building a page and posting lots of stuff. Guess what 100% of them do? You guessed it. They're all running ads. Okay. What you have to understand is if we peel the curtains back and see Facebook for what it is, the truth is Facebook is nothing more than a pay per view system. Period. That is it. If you want more people to see your content on Facebook, guess what Facebook is going to expect in return? You guessed it. They want your money, right? This is their whole business model. This is why organic results are almost non-exclusive or non-existent these days. The system is designed to not work for free. Do you understand that? The system is designed to not work for free. It's designed to cater to people who are paying them money. Period. Now, I don't want you to believe me just because I'm saying it. I want to share This. Again, the single biggest secret of Facebook is what I'm telling you. It's a pay-per-view system. The people that I know that make the most money off of Facebook are the ones that are running paid ads. That's it. If you're trying to do it for free, that is the fastest way that I know to fail because the system's designed to not work that way. Let me show you. See, remember how I said visibility, if more people knew who you were, your background, your qualifications, that more people would do business with you? See, visibility is the problem that we're trying to fix. And we fix that by running ads. It like instantly fixes the visibility problem because not only are a lot more people going to see it, but more importantly, we get to pick who those people are that are seeing it. And that is the massive advantage. So these are sample ads. Have you ever heard of this company, Zillow? Well, that's their ad. What about Realtor.com? You ever heard of Best Buy? Disney Plus, McDonald's, Nike. I live in Utah. This is our local MLS board, UtahRealEstate.com. Yep, they run ads too. The ads are what provide guaranteed visibility, right? The moment we become an advertiser on the platform, Facebook starts populating our content into those ad slots that are about every 5 or 6 posts. Our content gets put in there, and what we're literally paying for is the opportunity to have our content show up in other people's news feeds. That's what we're paying for. Now, I don't want you to believe me just because I'm saying it. This is the statistical part of one of my clients' pages. Now, what you can't see on this screenshot at the time I took it is they had around 300 followers on their business page, right? Now, in this screenshot, you'll notice that there's a column that's labeled reach. And reach is measuring the number of people who saw that post. Okay, so think about this for a second. As you're looking at that column reach, there were 300 followers. Now, that's the equivalent of 300 people raising their hand saying, yes, I want to see your content. That's what that means, right? So if there were 300 people asking to see the content, then why did Facebook show it to 2 people, to 21, to 32, to 52, to 32, to 24? Why did Facebook show it to so few people? Did you miss what we just talked about? That's how many people saw it for free. Okay, the one on the bottom where the reach was 8,766. The reason why that one had so much more was because, you guessed it, we ran an ad on that specific post. Right? If you were to go look at the statistics of your page, you would see something very similar to where the posts are not being shown to all of your followers, right? It's not all the people who like your page. They're not the ones seeing. So you're going to say, well, wait a second, Kevin, you mean to tell me that Facebook expects me to pay money to market to the people who have liked my own page? That's exactly what I'm telling you. This is the system. You've just got to see it for what it is. Because if you leave this class today and you decide that I'm just going to build a page and post lots of stuff and you're not going to run ads, then you are missing everything that I'm teaching you, right? You are guaranteeing, for the most part, your failure. It really is that cut and dry. Trying to do it for free is the fastest way that I know how to fail. Paying for ads is also the fastest way that I see people getting results. It really is that cut and dry. The bad news of what you're going to learn today is it's not free. That's the bad news. The good news is that it's extremely inexpensive. Again, I've never found anything cheaper. I'll show you the numbers in a second. But you've got to get this into your head because if you're not running ads, everything that I'm going to teach you today will be absolutely worthless. And the reason why it's going to be worthless is because of this. No one's going to see it. That's the answer. See, that kind of leads us to the next problem, which is gaining followers for your page is a waste of time, money, and effort. So if you listen to a lot of the people, they'll tell you that the key is to have 1,000 followers, 500,000 followers, 10,000, whatever their magic number is. that's the key to success. Well, here's why it's a problem. HubSpot is one of the leaders as far as social media testing. And in their testing, what they found is that organic reach, again, just means how many people see it for free, that organic reach ranges between 2 to 6.5%. So here's the math of what that means. If you have a page with 1,000 followers and you post something, that means on average, 20 to 65 people are going to see it. Do you see why having a huge audience is a waste of time? It's a waste of time because they're never going to see the content that you're posting. See, the problem here is that number one, Facebook limits how many people see it for free. Why? Because they want you to pay. It's really that simple. So, problem number one is they limit it. But problem number two is that the people that they are showing it to, it's the same people over and over again because of how the algorithm works. Again, think about it like this. We talked about how in the algorithm, if people are liking, commenting, sharing, clicking on stuff, if they're doing those things, Facebook takes that as a symbol that says, I want more of this content, right? So not only is Facebook limiting how many people see your content, but because of the way the algorithm works, it's the same people over and over and over again who are seeing your content. So it's the same 15, 20, 30 people that are seeing your content over and over again. And so people build a page, post lots of stuff, and they're doing this and they're doing what people are teaching them, but they don't get anywhere. This is the reason why you're not getting anywhere. Do you see why I needed to spend a little time at the beginning of today's class peeling the curtains back and just letting you see it for what it is? Facebook is a pay per view system, period. I'm going to show you how to play the game and play it well. It's just not going to be free. That's what you need to know. Okay, so again, the problem here is that if you're focused on building an audience, then most of your time, money, and effort is wasted because they're never going to see what you're posting, right? If you were to go look at my clients who are generating, 20, 30, 40 leads a week, it has nothing to do with the number of followers that they have. You'd be very unimpressed. Most of them have 100, 200, 300 followers, something like that. So why are they generating so many leads? Because we're paying for an ad to go way beyond their followers. It has nothing to do with their followers. Does that make sense? This is why you just need to understand this system. Now, if you're doing the things that people teach you, build a page, post lots of stuff, build a huge audience, if you do those things and it's not producing results, and you go back to those people and say, hey, it's not working, then what do they tell you? Well, they'll tell you that the problem is your content. You're posting the wrong stuff, right? They'll tell you the content is the problem. And so you can post better videos, better open houses, better listings, better whatever, cat content. I don't know, whatever it is that you're posting, you can post better. And what tends to happen is you get a few extra likes, shares, and comments because people genuinely like the content. But does it generate more leads? And the answer is no. So the reason why content isn't as important as people teach you is, again, you know this as a consumer, you've just never thought about it. Think about the businesses that you follow on social media. One very common practice for a lot of businesses when they're posting content is they'll find this business quote, they'll put it on a pretty image, and then they'll post that, right? Have you ever scrolled through your feed, saw one of those quotes with an image on it, and gone, oh, that is the best quote I have ever seen. It's time to do business with them today. Have you ever done that? Of course not. And neither are your followers, neither are your consumers, right? This is why content largely doesn't matter. Don't get me wrong, content does matter, but everyone talks about content in social media as being the most important thing. And from my perspective, it's not. You can have the greatest content in the world, but if you don't solve the visibility problem, it doesn't matter what your content is. This is why I believe content is secondary. Visibility is king, right? It's what matters the most. So Visibility is the problem that we're trying to fix, and that is why ads are the solution to this problem. So, the last of the myths is that Facebook is one of the most expensive forms of marketing. So, you already know my feeling. When I hear people say Facebook's really expensive, all that tells me is one of two things. Either number one, they've never done it before, so they have no idea what the costs are. Or number two, they don't know what they're doing. And frankly, if you don't know what you're doing, anything you do is going to be expensive, whether it's Facebook or something else, right? So let's just kind of break this down. The question, in order to try and do an apples to apples comparison on this, the question I want you to be thinking about for a second is right now, with the things that you're doing to market your business, what is it costing you right now to generate a lead, right? Think about that for a second. Now, if you're sitting there going, well, Kevin, it doesn't cost me anything to generate a lead because I'm doing things that are free. I'm doing things like cold calling, door knocking, whatever, right? Now, if you're thinking that, then you need to hear this more than anybody else, quite honestly, and that is time, right? The time that you're spending doing those things is way more expensive than money. So let me kind of put that in perspective. Let's say that, let's just take some numbers. Let's say that you live in an area where an average sales price is 500,000. Let's say you earn a 3% commission on that. So that would be $15,000 gross commission on average. And let's say that, let's say it takes you 30 hours of work. I'm not talking calendar days. I'm just talking how much time you spent making that transaction happen, from showing homes to contracts, inspections, the whole thing, right? 30 hours of actually working on the deal. So if it takes you 30 hours to earn a $15,000 commission, it's just simple math. 15,000 divided by 30 hours, that means you're worth $500 per hour when you do what you do as a real estate agent. Right? Most people have never thought about what they're actually worth. Now, if your sales prices are higher, if it's taking you less time to close a deal, fantastic. You're worth way more per hour. I would suspect a lot of you listening to this are worth $1,000 an hour, 700, 800, whatever that number is. But just for the sake of putting numbers to this, let's say that you're worth $500 an hour. So when an agent says, Kevin, I was cold calling this morning, I spent 2 hours cold calling and I got one good lead out of it. Okay. I feel a little bad for the agent because if it's costing them $500 of their time per hour, that one lead just cost them, you got it, $1,000. That's what that lead just cost them. Have you ever thought about it that way? That that's what it's costing you to generate a lead? See, my clients that are running ads, they're generating a lead for around every $3 to $5 that they're spending, even in today's market. So for every $3 to $5 they're spending, they'll generate a lead, getting a name, a phone number, an email address, and someone requesting more information, right? That's what we're calling a lead. And so I've just never found anything that comes close to that. When you factor what your time is worth, there's just no comparison. It's not even close. Let's say you're buying leads from Zillow. We talked about it. They're usually about $100 or more per lead. So for what you would spend with one of their leads, you could spend $100 doing what I'm going to show you, and you'd probably end up with somewhere between like 20 to 30 leads for that same cost of one of their leads. It's just crazy, right? So the other thing that I love about what I'm going to teach you is that it's a massive time saver because you can spend a couple minutes, get the ad set up, and now you have time freedom because you can go show homes and leads are coming in while you're doing that. You can sleep at night, hopefully, and leads are coming in while you're sleeping, right? You can go to a listing appointment and leads are coming in, right? This is the benefit of what I'm teaching you, is that it solves that problem that I showed you earlier, the roller coaster. By having a consistent lead source, you don't have to stop what you're doing to create new opportunities. That form of leverage is a huge, huge benefit. So in order to see Facebook for what it is. The simple truth is Facebook is a pay-per-view system. If you want more people to see your content, Facebook is going to expect you to run an ad, to pay money for it. Therefore, everything I'm going to teach you, it's based on running paid ads. I'm going to show you how to play the game and play it really well. But you just can't, if you leave here and decide you want to have success on social media, but you're not advertising, I can almost guarantee your failure, right? It really is that cut and dry. And that's why I spend so long at the beginning of this class just pounding it into your head. Because like I said, if you leave trying to do it for free, you're really guaranteeing your own failure. Okay. So we're going to show you how to use the system the way it was designed, how to play that game, and find great success in doing it. Okay. Perfect. Now, let's get into the actual lead generations techniques. So what is a lead? My definition of a lead is 4 things. So number 1, they have given you their name, their phone number, their email address, and they're either requesting information about something or asking you to follow up, whatever that looks like, right? But it's those 4 things: name, phone, email, and they're requesting information. That is what I'm calling a lead. So when I'm talking about 20 leads a week through Facebook, I'm not talking about likes, shares, comments. I'm talking about this. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, here's what tends to happen. So an agent gets a brand new listing and they'll post something like this. Now I've blacked out the names so that I don't, we don't beat up a specific agent. It has nothing to do with the specific agent, has everything to do with this process. So an agent will get a listing, and whether they post a link to their own website, or in this case, it's a link to the property on Zillow, doesn't matter. It's all the same for the purposes of what I'm teaching you. So what happens is an agent sees this. A buyer sees this, right? They're scrolling through Facebook. They see this post. And just for the sake of argument and teaching you this strategy, even if that's the exact home, that's their dream home, that's what they've been looking for, are they going to call the agent? And my answer is no, they probably won't, because most real estate is a competitive field. Most people know more than one real estate agent. And so if they see this and they do want to go see the home, are they going to call the agent who posted this, or are they going to call their brother-in-law or their friend or whoever the real estate agent is that they know? Of course, they're going to call that agent that they know. And this is why when agents post stuff like this, they think they're just going to get tons of action and tons of comments and calls and showings. And to a large extent, those things don't happen. And the problem here is that by giving them a link where they can go and get all the information about the property, they just don't really need you, to be honest. The only thing they really need you for is to go see the home. And again, my argument is they're going to call their friend or family member, whoever it is that they know that is in real estate, to do that, if that's what they really want to do. So when we talk about generating leads, there's really only 2 ways that I can teach you how to generate leads consistently. It's either one, because we offer something that's so valuable in exchange for people's contact information, right? People value their contact information. They just don't freely give it out. And so one of the ways that we do that is we offer something so valuable, people are willing to let go of their contact information. The moment that flip-flops, if they perceive that what we're offering is low in value, that's the moment they're going to hold on to their contact information, right? So one of the ways that we do this and generate leads consistently is offering something of value. The second way that we do it is we withhold information that is valuable so that they have a reason to reach out to us and engage with us. Okay, it's either because of what we offer or because of what we withhold. If it's not one of those 2 things, it's hard to generate leads consistently, right? They just don't have a reason to reach out with you. So you've got to understand that. It's either because of what you offer or because of what you withhold. Otherwise, there's just not a consistent way to generate leads over and over and over again, which is what we're looking for. So here's how this works. So on the left is the ad. When we run an ad, like I said earlier, we're paying for the privilege of our content to show up in somebody's newsfeed as they're scrolling through. That's what we're doing when we run an ad. If people like what they see, they click on it, and that takes us to the step in the middle, which is the lead capture form. You don't need any extra software or any third-party tools to do this. What you see here, this lead capture form, that's part of the tools that Facebook provides advertisers on their system. And so you don't need anything special to do this. They click on the ad, the lead capture form pops up. And what's really cool about it is these fields will pre-populate with their information that's tied to their Facebook account. So they don't even need to punch in any bogus, any information in here. And because of how easy it is, most people just hit submit. And because it's tied to their Facebook account, that information, more often than not, it is correct. Okay. Now, will people put bogus information in here so that that you don't call them? Yes, that does happen. My statistics show usually happens around 15-20% of the time. Okay, now here's my take on that. If they weren't serious enough to give you their contact information, were they going to do business with you anyway? Of course not. So who cares? It's part of the game. We just move on. It's not that big of a deal. We're going to help the people that do want help. The ones that don't, who cares? We just move on. It's not a big deal. Okay. Now, once they have filled out that form and the lead is generated, then that's the last step is the follow-up. So the phone calls, the texting, the emailing, whatever it is that you're doing to convert that lead. Now, I'm going to walk you through that in a second, but this is the process. We pay for the ad shows up in their feed. They click on it, the lead capture form pops up. They hit the submit button. That's our trigger to start doing the follow-up. That is how this process works. Okay, now I want to show you examples of what this looks like. This is one of my most popular ads. It's something that we have literally generated hundreds of thousands of leads from. And it's using a listing to generate interest from potential buyers. Okay, you'll notice we're giving them enough information about the home to get them excited, but there are some specific things that we are not giving them. We are not giving them the price, the address, or the rest of the photos. That is the carrot, so to speak, that I'm dangling in front of them to get them to click on the ad. Okay, the funny thing is this strategy right here is something that real estate agents have been doing for decades. In fact, I call this ad the magazine ad. So back in my day, before, when I got licensed, this was before the internet existed. It's before social media existed. In fact, when I got licensed, the cool tech of the day was the fax machine. And it was a big deal because you didn't have to drive somewhere to get a signature like you had to before then. So, but back in that day, before all of this existed, one of the main lead generation tools of that time were the home magazines that you would pick up for free at the grocery store, right? And the way that they worked was there was typically a picture of the exterior of the home. There was a line or two of information about it. And if you wanted to know more information, you had to pick up the phone and call the agent. That's the way that tool would generate a lead. Well, this is the same concept, but the problem is nobody's looking at those magazines anymore, right? Their eyeballs are online, they're in social media. So we're doing the exact same thing that you guys have done for decades. It's just we're putting it where people's eyeballs are, and that is social media. Now, one of the things I hear all the time is they'll say, well, Kevin, that's great if I have a listing, but what if I don't have a listing? Not a problem. Borrow one. Just get permission to market it. And then you'll notice on the ad in this example, there's a line at the bottom of it that says listing courtesy of, and then the listing agent and the listing brokerage, right? So it doesn't have to be yours. You just get permission. That way you're covered. We give credit on the ad so that you're not misrepresenting as if you're the listing agent, and you're covered. Everything is completely safe from from representation to basically your legal department. They're going to be fine with it, right? Compliance. That's the word I was looking for. So you're going to be in compliance. Okay. Now, this is another example of the same style of ad. Okay. Where we're marketing a listing with the intent of getting potential buyers. What you see here is the screenshot from my client's ad account that shows the results of the last two ads. So this one is the Riverton one. The other one was that Harriman one. If you're looking at that column labeled results, you'll see that it says 65 and 36. So that is how many people filled out the lead form, meaning we generated 101 leads. And in the cost per result, you can see one was 60 cents per lead and the other one was $1.05 per lead. Now, in all fairness, that was at the peak of the market where anybody and everybody was buying real estate. In today's market, it's more like $3 to $5, like I mentioned. But you can see here, if you look at the amount spent, they spent under $40 for each of those ads. So for less than $80, they generated 101 leads. Isn't that insane? Now, it doesn't have to be a specific home. You can market a list of homes. And what we have found with lists is that if the list is themed, it tends to perform better. So, like you see here, a list of new construction homes, a list of homes with a mother-in-law apartment or basement apartment. Back in COVID times, a list of homes with a home office was a big deal. You could have a list of possible investment properties. It could be anything, right? But when the list has a theme, it just tends to perform better. Plus, targeting the right people is also easier when we're going after a specific type of person. So the other thing that's nice about marketing a list of homes is you don't need permission to market a list, right? So that makes it easy as well. Now, does it work? So these are screenshots from my client's ad accounts. And a lot of times when I'm showing examples in a class like this, a lot of people say, well, Kevin, you're just showing us the ads that did well. Okay, fine. So this screenshot is one of my client's ad accounts, and it's every ad that we have ever run, right, for the life of their account. So if you look at the results column and you look down, you'll notice we've generated 1,213 leads at an average cost over the life of their account for $2.02 a piece. Again, we didn't get lucky 1,200 times, is what I'm trying to teach you, right? I'm not just isolating certain ads. This is every ad we ever ran on their account. Okay. Same thing. Here's another one. If you look at that results column, 573 leads at a cost of $1.59 per lead. Again, every ad that we've ever run on their account. The next one, you're seeing that correctly. That is 8,438 ads or leads at a cost of $1.46 per lead. Okay, that one's interesting. That's one of my clients. He's in the Houston, Texas area. And one of the things that he does is he caters to the Hispanic market. And that is a group of people that is traditionally undermarketed to. And so what he does is he knows that a lot of those people are going to, they're not going to have proper documentation to get a traditional mortgage. And so he's lined up alternative sources of financing. And that's what he does. All of his ads are in Spanish, and we target people who speak Spanish. And the ad is saying, "Hey, do you, do you not have proper documentation?" We've lined up, where you can get a loan based off of your ITIN number and some other resources, and that's what he does. He just markets that solution, and because a lot of those people want to buy a home, they're good members of society. They have jobs, they have a lot of income, they're doing well. They just can't qualify for a traditional mortgage. They're able to do it, and so. Because he's and this is the lesson on marketing, because he's marketing to a specific group of people that have a specific problem and offering a specific solution, that's what makes that work. That's why he's getting the response that he is. And so that lesson right there is powerful for marketing. Specific group of people, specific problem, specific solution. That is a magical formula for marketing. Okay. But the lesson here is I'm not just taking individual ads that performed well. This is the life of their account, everything that we've ever done. Right? So does it work? Absolutely. We didn't get lucky 8,000 times. That's the lesson. Okay. See, when it comes to buying leads, there's really three different models out there. So on the left, buying leads, this is kind of your traditional going to Zillow, Realtor.com, those type of companies, where like we talked about, it's going to be around $100 a lead. Conversion rates around 1-2% is going to be pretty normal. So even at a 2% conversion, that means you're going to need 50 leads before one of them is going to convert. So 50 leads at $100 a piece, that's $5,000 that you would spend per closing, roughly with that model. Now, some lead generation companies have transitioned to a commission-based model where they want a percentage of the commission once the deal closes, and they're not charging you upfront for the lead. So upfront, this is the middle column. There's no upfront cost. Let's say you earn your $15,000 commission, right? They typically will charge anywhere from 25 to 40%, depending on what company you're doing it with. If you do the math, 25 to 40% of that 15,000, that is $3,750 to $6,000. In some cases, it's even more expensive to do it that way than just buy the lead. Okay, whereas what I'm sharing with you, the Facebook leads, the column on the right, it's about $5 a lead, right? If you're converting around 1%, which is normal, and then I'm going to share with you ways that we can improve that. But even at 1%, you're going to need 100 leads. And if it's costing you $5 a lead, you're into it for $500. Right? And the leads are exclusive. It's just crazy. This is why when people, why do people buy leads at $100 a piece? The only answer I've ever come up with is Zillow charges that because they can. And they just assume that you don't know how to generate leads on your own. The moment you do know how to generate leads on your own, that's the moment all of that becomes absolutely irrelevant. Okay. So what this system does for you, number one, is it's time freedom. Again, we spend a few minutes getting the ads set up. And then once that's done, the ads are doing the heavy lifting for you. And that's what gives you that time freedom. You can go about your day doing the things that you have planned, all while new opportunities are coming in to fill up your pipeline. Okay, the leads are massively inexpensive, right? I've shown you the numbers. It's scalable. So one of the things that is beautiful about this is some of the clients that we work with, they're individual agents where they just want to keep themselves busy and boost their business. So they have an ad budget that's consistent with that. Some of our clients are team leaders where they want to generate leads and give those to the team to help with recruiting and help build that organization. So they'll spend a little bit more money to have more leads to help out the team. So you can really scale this up or scale this down at whatever level makes the most sense for you. That's what's beautiful about it. Again, a competitive advantage, right? Because very few people know how to do this, and the leads are exclusive. And so that's what makes this really powerful. Can you see why it's such an advantage to use social media for this purpose, right? It's powerful. And it builds name recognition. So because all of the ads are marketing you, your business, your brokerage, your branding, it's building that brand. You're getting known in your area, right? So in addition to leads being generated, that branding is helping you as well. So I told you earlier about my client in Houston who was doing this, and this is him. This is John, where he was closing 3 to 4 deals a month from the ads that he was running on Instagram and Facebook. So, like I said, all of his ads were in Spanish. I don't speak a lick of Spanish other than like Yo quiero Taco Bell, but that's about it. Again, power of marketing, right? All the ads were in Spanish, and the way that we did it was you can't target people based on ethnicity. That's not allowed, but you can target people based on languages spoken. And that's what we did. So we targeted people that spoke Spanish. And you can see the results here. This is a new ad we were running, 5,137 leads at a cost of $4.94. Again, like I said, that's more consistent with what we see in today's market. But yeah, he was closing 3-4 deals a month off of what he was doing from social media. Pretty powerful, right? Now, one of the things I mentioned at the beginning of today's class was I was going to share with you why it's not in your best interest to boost a post. So let's talk about that. Like you see on the screenshot here, anytime you post something on your page, there's going to be a little blue button at the bottom that says boost post. Okay. And if you go click on that button, um, and it sounds good, it says that Facebook is going to show that post to X number of people for X number of dollars. And like I said, it sounds great until you do it, and then you realize it's just not the opportunity that you thought it was. So part of the problem of boosting a post, um, in order to understand the problem, I kind of need to explain the history of it so that you understand. One of the criticisms a lot of people have about the Facebook Ads Manager is that it's kind of complex, right? I hear that a lot. And that's a fair assessment, to be honest, that because of the amount of options and possibilities there, people say that it's really hard. And like I said, that would be a fair criticism. So what Facebook did was they took that information, they took that feedback and tried to make it uh, easier for people to run ads. And so the only way to really make it easier was to remove options, make it less complicated. And so that's what boosting a post is. It is a dumbed down version of the ads manager because they tried to make it easy. But what happens is in the process of dumbing it down, you lose options. So, for example, remember how I mentioned at the beginning of class, you can take your contact list, upload that into your ad account, and run ads directly to that group? That option is not available when you're boosting a post, right? You can't do that when you're boosting a post. Um, what I'm sharing with you right now about lead generation, where they click on the ad, the lead capture form pops up, and they fill it out, that option is not available when boosting a post. So it doesn't cost any different money it's the same money whether you run an ad or whether you boost a post. From a cost perspective, there's zero difference. But what the difference is it's based on limited options. And so I always tell people don't ever boost a post. You're always better off running an ad so that you have the full array of options and you can have the ad do whatever it is you want it to do. So that's why it's not in your best interest. Also, one last thing is when you boost a post, Facebook picks the objective for you and they pick engagement, which is defined as clicks, likes, comments, and shares. Now, are you running an ad for the intent of getting comments, likes, and shares? Probably not, but that's what they pick for you. And so, see, people boost a post and it's not producing the results they want. And it's largely because of the limitations that are provided when boosting. So, this is why I always tell people don't ever boost a post. For the same money you would have spent boosting a post, run an ad and you get full options, right? So, that is why it's not in your best interest to boost a post. So when we're creating an ad, Facebook asks us, what is the objective? What is it that you want to have happen? And leads is the option that we want. So what's different about this option than the other ones is this is what makes it so that when people click on the ad, that lead capture form pops up. If you selected any of those other options, that doesn't happen, right? So make sure you're using the leads option. Okay, now one of the things that you need to understand is what's called a special ad category. So, several years ago, Facebook was sued by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They were sued by Fair Housing Association. There were lots of smaller ones too, but they were sued for discriminatory advertising practices. Before that time, you could target people based on age, gender, ethnicity, um, any of the protected statuses. In fact, they had categories about targeting certain, like the top 10% income earners in an area, or whether people owned a home or not, or whether there was even a category called likely to sell. Like this is how stupid simple it was back in the day, right? And so when they got sued, they changed things, and they came up with this thing called special ad categories. And what they are is they're industries. that have advertising regulations, right? Real estate is one of those. There's 4 of them on their system right now. So housing, credit, employment, and social issues or politics. So if you're advertising in any of those 4 categories, housing, employment, credit, or employment, or sorry, political or social issues, then you have to check the box that it's a special ad category and select which one. Okay, if you don't do that, Facebook is going to see that your ad is real estate based and it's going to reject it every single time. So when I have people say, Kevin, Facebook keeps rejecting my ad when I submit it, 99 times out of 100, this is the reason. Okay, so make sure you specify that it is a special ad category. And what happens when you do that is they lock all the protected statuses. So you're not able to target based on age, gender, ethnicity, all of those things. Okay. So then the question becomes, well, how do we target people? And the way that I target people is the question I'm always asking myself is the people that I want to get my content in front of, what else are they interested in? And Facebook lets us target people based on interests. So if it's an ad where I'm targeting like first time buyers, then I'm going to use things. There's actually one called Starter Home. There's ones regarding renting. There's targets for first time buyer grants. I'm going to use options like that to target those people. If it's somebody, let's say it's a luxury listing, then I'm going to target things like luxury real estate, luxury vehicle. I'm going to target things that would likely interest somebody in that demographic. Okay. Um, let's say I'm running an ad where I'm targeting sellers, right? Then I'm going to use interests that suggest that they own a home. So things like home repair, interior design, um, renovation, those kinds of things, right? Things that imply home ownership. And so that's the question that I'm always asking is what else are people interested in so that I can target them? And so part of this process is not just paying for an ad to get more people seeing it, but the other part of the process is picking the right people to see it. So we have to have the right message and the right audience. And when those 2 things line up, that's where the magic happens. Okay. Now, you really can run ads for just about anything. So whether it's new construction, buyer leads, seller leads, open houses, you name it, I've probably done it. It's the same process. The only thing that's different is the content. So what it is that you're offering is going to change. And number 2, you're targeting who it is that you're targeting. Other than that, the mechanics are the same. It's still the same lead generation ad. They still click on it. The capture form pops up. That's how we collect the lead. It's just what you're offering and who you're targeting. That's what's different. Okay. So, can you see why these things don't matter to you? Can you see why, with what I've taught you, why the number of followers you have doesn't matter? See, we're not running ads based on how many followers you have. That's why even if you had 0 followers, you can still generate 20 leads a week with what I'm showing you from day number 1. Right? We know that it has nothing to do with your followers. We're paying for an ad to go well beyond your followers. Okay, why does organic reach not matter with what I've taught you? Well, it's simple. We know organic reach sucks. That's why we're spending money on an ad, right? So just the sheer fact that we're spending money on the ad, we're going to get way beyond what we could reach organically. Number of posts. See, how many posts is it going to take to do what I'm showing you? 1. Right? It's not based on you sitting at your computer all day long creating and sharing content. It has nothing to do with it. It's a completely different approach. Engagement, likes, comments, shares. Is what I'm teaching you based on getting people to engage? No, we just want them to click on the form and fill it out. That's it, right? It has nothing to do with likes, comments, and shares. We just want them to click on the ad, fill out the form. That's how we generate the lead, and that's what matters to us. So Again, most of the stuff that people teach you, these four things, as far as what they say really quote unquote matters with social media, it just doesn't matter when you're running an ad, right? If we run ads to get leads, that's all we care about. And these four things just don't matter. So let's get into lead conversion. How do we improve our lead conversion rate? It's one thing to generate a lead, it's another thing to take that lead and turn it into business. So let's walk through that process. So, anytime I teach this class, especially when I teach it live, usually about this point, if it hasn't been asked already, people ask these two questions. Number one, how many of those leads are going to turn into a transaction? And number two, how long does that take? Okay, so let's dive into both and answer both of those questions. How many of the leads will turn into a transaction, and how long does it take? So let's talk about lead conversion rates. Anytime you're dealing with a cold lead, again, cold doesn't mean bad. Cold just means no prior relationship. They don't know you, you don't know them. Anytime you're dealing with a cold lead, it doesn't matter what the source is. Industry standard conversion rate is about 1%. Okay, that's pretty normal. So here's the math. The reason why I call this how to generate 20 plus leads a week is when you're getting to that range around 20 to 25 leads a week, that's enough volume that you should be getting around 100, 80 to 100 leads a month. And so if you're getting 80 to 100 leads a month, that should be enough volume that if you're consistent with the lead follow-up strategies I'm going to teach you, you should be doing about a deal a month off of that at a minimum. Okay. And so if it's costing you $5 a lead and it's taking us 100 leads to get a transaction, then again, you're into this for about $500. That's what it's going to cost you. Okay, that's kind of the norm of this. Now, the second question is, how long does it take? Well, let's look at the numbers. So how long does it take to convert a lead? The median in the industry right now is 115 days. Now, this is not specific to Facebook. It's not specific to any lead source. This is all of them. The cumulative in the industry right now is 115 days from the time they express interest to the time that they close. Okay, that's the median. Now, knowing that, obviously that means some are happening faster and some are happening slower. But this is the quote unquote norm. The reason I talk about this is because if your expectation is to take what I'm teaching you, to set up an ad, make one phone call, and it turns into a transaction by the end of the week, it can happen and it has happened, but that's the exception. That's not what normally happens. This is what normally happens, right? We fill up the pipeline, we nurture those people over and over again, and that's where the leads come, that's where the transactions come from. Right. When I talk about John, my client who's in Houston, where he's doing 3-4 deals a month, you got to realize the 3-4 deals that he's closing are leads we generated months ago. Right. The difference between him and you is he's been doing this for a while. So his pipeline's already full. Does that make sense? Right? He's not starting from scratch. So you've got to realize that the moment we, whether you decide to do this on your own, if you want to hire us to help you with it, that's fine. But the moment you do that and we flip the switch, yes, you're going to have leads coming in right away. And some of those leads may want to do something very quickly. It happens. And obviously we love that. We love it every time it happens. But I don't want to paint you a picture that isn't true, because this is the truth. When people say, oh yeah, we generate leads and they close by the end of the week, or they're just lying to you. That's not true. This is the truth, right? This comes from the guy who sells this, right? So this is the industry standard and what you need to expect. You've got to have a little bit of time to fill up your pipeline, take care of people the right way throughout that pipeline, and you'll earn their business. And that's what I'm going to teach you in this section of the class. So you've heard a million times in your real estate career that the money is made in the follow-up. Do you want to know why you've heard that a million times? It's because it's absolutely true. That's why, right? So it's all about the follow up. I attended a training that Zillow did once. And in fact, the two screenshots I'm about to share with you, that's where they come from. This came from that training. So I was curious what Zillow was teaching people who were buying leads from them. And this was the first screenshot. So as you see in that blue area that's labeled 47%, that means 47% of the time the lead was never even followed up with at all. Isn't that crazy? People who are spending thousands of dollars for leads through Zillow, half the time they're not even following up. And then 24% of the time they're making one phone call. That means 71% of the time the lead is being contacted once or less. Isn't that insane? And here's why it matters so much. This is not measuring conversion. It's not measuring how many leads are turning into transactions. This is just measuring your likelihood of making contact. That's it, right? You'll notice if I attempt once, I have a 39% chance of reaching them. If I attempt a second time, it almost doubles to 72%. And by the time I've tried 7 times, 95% likelihood of reaching. Okay. And the whole lesson here is most people just aren't following up with the leads the way they need to in order to take that and maximize the opportunity here. So these are really the proven tactics, the things that we've learned after going through this process hundreds of thousands of times for what it takes for our clients to turn the leads into clients, into transactions. So, number one, take a long term approach. Again, we know the median time in the industry is 115 days. So, you've got to have at a minimum a follow up process that accounts for 115 days. If you don't, then the simple truth is, I promise you, you're missing opportunities. That's the truth. So, that's counting 115 days. But here's a crazy idea. We know some of them are going to take longer than that, right? Well, here's a crazy idea. We want to have a follow up system that accounts for that too. So take a long term approach to what you're doing. Number two, this is what we call speed to lead, right? The speed with which you can respond to the lead is critical for conversion. They do tons of studies on this stuff. And what they found is if you're able to follow up with the lead within the first 5 minutes, conversion rates are 9 times higher than if you don't. Okay, 9 times. So now, are you always going to be available to follow up within the first 5 minutes? Of course not. This is where um, technology and automation is going to be your friend. Okay, so this is where having a database, having a follow up system, those kind of things are going to make a big difference to help you with the conversion. 80% of all transactions occur after the 5th contact. So again, if you're only making 1, maybe 2 phone calls, maybe a text message, I promise you, you're leaving opportunities on the table. Our experience is 80% of the transactions that occur with a cold audience happen after 5 contacts. Again, that's the math. You also want to create content that people want to engage with, and that's what you want to follow up with. One of the criticisms I have of a lot of the follow up systems out there is they are very, what I would call, sales oriented. So a lot of the messages are like, hey, you clicked on our ad. Are you ready to go see the home? When do you want to get pre-qualified? Are you ready to go see it? I can set up a personal tour, et cetera, et cetera. Right? It only takes a couple of those messages before people are just like, I'm not ready. Right? And they just tune you out. So follow up with information that will be relevant to them. You might want to say, hey, these are some of the areas that we have found are best for, I don't know, families or whatever, right? These are some of the areas that have the highest appreciation rates. Would you like to know more about them? Maybe you have kids. These are some of the reports on school systems in the area that you might want to know about. Again, if you think about what they need and you take that trusted advisor position, you can really make a big, big difference um, in their responsiveness to the information that you're following up with, right? Take that trusted advisor response, be that helpful expert, and people will respond. That's been my experience. And focused on building trust, kind of talking about that, right? People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. You've also heard that a million times because it's also true. So higher trust equals higher conversion rates. And then lastly, use video and targeted ads. So one of the things we encourage our clients to do is to create videos. And I'll show you some examples. But basically what we do is we keep running ads to leads we've already generated. This is not about having them fill out a form. They already did that. This is about building trust and building credibility. It's called a retargeted ad. And so I'll show you some examples of that. But one of the things that people often ask is they'll say, Kevin, what should I be saying? What's the process of following up? And this right here, this is one of my clients. Her name is Amber. And she's got one of the best follow-up systems I've ever met. Of all my clients, she had one of the highest conversion rates. And so I did an interview with her and I just said, hey, spill the beans. What are you doing? And we just had a long conversation about her follow-up. So that right there is the video title. If you search for the best real estate lead follow-up system, you'll see that video. And I highly recommend going and watching that to get the scripts, the process. She outlines it very well. Now, one of the ways you can increase your lead conversion is by offering something specialized. So I gave you the example of my client who does the stuff in Spanish, right? By having a specific offer to a specific group of people, it's more targeted. And so we get a higher response rate, right? He's getting more conversions simply because of that, right? And to put it in perspective, the people who need his help, they really can't go elsewhere and get that same help, which is why his conversion rates are what they are. So that's another thing that we can do just from the ad perspective of driving up our conversion rates. So niches can be very helpful for this purpose. So I showed you that example. Here's one for first-time buyers. Well, this is one of my clients, his ad that we ran for first-time buyers. One of the challenges they often have is the down payment, and he had a program that he put his people through that helped with the down payment, helped solve that problem. In fact, one of the people that he helped with this, in fact, this was his exact ad. One of the leads he closed from this, she was so happy that she was able to get into a home. She said, are you able to help other people? And he said, yeah, sure. She referred some of her friends, and they got into a home. And they referred some of their friends who got into a home. And this one ad ended up with 20 closed transactions, not just from the ad, but from that person and their referrals. It's super awesome, right? Now, I wish I could tell you that's going to happen to you. I wish I could tell you that's what happens every time. We both know that it doesn't. But is there the possibility of that happening? Absolutely. It's happened here. It can happen again. But that's the value of working within a specific niche, a specific group, is that those people often know other people just like them that need help with the same thing. And so there's plenty of opportunities for referrals where that goes. So told you about shooting videos, right? This is what one of our clients has done, is he's taken the bull by the horn and started creating a lot of videos. And it's what we've used to improve his conversion rates. So you can see right here, after about 5 months of doing this, we've generated 537 leads. You can see the cost per lead a little bit higher than what I told you, but about $7 a lead. And you can see what he spent over those 5 months. Now, what we started doing was Facebook lets you create what's called custom audiences. So a custom audience is basically a way of tracking certain groups of people. You can see here, we created a custom audience based on people opening the lead form. So here's what happens a lot. When people see the when they see the ad and they click on it, and the lead capture form pops up and they see that we're requesting contact information, there's a lot of people who will click away. They don't even fill out the lead form. But what's awesome about this custom audience is it's tracking anyone who opens it, whether they fill out the form or not. Now, if they don't fill the form out, we're not receiving their contact information. But the mere fact that they clicked on it, Facebook takes that person and pulls them into this audience. So all the people who open it, whether they fill it out or not, they're getting pulled in here. And the thought process is if they were interested enough to click on the ad, then that's somebody I want to keep in front of. And so we built up this audience of all of these people who had opened the ad. Some had filled it out, some hadn't, but that's who we're targeting. And so he just created video after video after video on different topics. And we just were targeting his audience with those week in and week out. And what ended up happening was one of the people that we had done this with, that person called up Zach, the agent, and said, "Hey, can we meet?" And so they met at a coffee shop or whatever. And so Zach's like, "Hey, what can I help you with?" And the guy pulls his phone out, shows him the thumbnail of one of these videos, and he says, "I want you to help me with this." Right? Remember how we talked about 80% of transactions occur after 5 contacts? This is why we do this over and over and over. And what ends up happening is the people that weren't taking his calls after they start seeing some videos, now they're calling him. Again, this is the power of know, like, and trust. It's a huge, huge difference when we can get people to know, like, and trust you to where they want to contact you. See, instead of him chasing them all the time, now they're coming to him. That's a huge difference. So let's talk just to kind of finish up the class. Let's talk about this. The reason why I call this how to generate 20 leads per week is because, like I said, it's just volume. If you're generating 20 to 25 leads a week, that should be 80 to 100 leads a month. And if your follow-up systems are what I'm showing you, then that should be enough to be doing a deal a month. Okay, so if you did one deal a month and you did this for an entire year, congratulations. You just did 12 transactions out of just this one simple strategy. Okay. The National Association of Realtors, they say that the average is, I want to say, 8 transactions a year. So congratulations with one very simple thing. You just became above average. So congratulations, right? Now, it gets better. So the reason why it gets better is because some of the leads that we generate are going to turn into more than one transaction. In other words, one of the most common things that happens is in order for people to buy a home, they also need to sell their existing home. And so one of the ways that a lot of my clients actually generate seller leads is actually from their buyer leads. They'll advertise a property that's a little bit more expensive to where it's really not the first home that somebody would buy, right? It's their second or third or fourth or whatever. But we know the people responding to that, they likely have a home that they need to sell. And so they're using a home to flush out potential buyers to get to the sellers, right? So let's say of those 12 transactions we just got done talking about, let's say half of them are a buy sell opportunity. Well, if that's the case, then those leads are 2 transactions. And so if half of them are, well, that's 18 transactions from the same leads we've already been talking about. No extra cost, no nothing different. It's the same people. But it gets better. Okay, if you're generating 80 to 100 leads a month, let's just call it 80, that's 960 leads in a year. And if only 12 of them turned into a transaction, the question is what happened to the other 948? Doesn't it just make sense that if we had follow-up systems in place, if we were showing videos to these people over and over again throughout the year, doesn't it just make sense that some of them would convert and turn into a transaction? And let's just call it a very conservative number. Let's say 1% did. Well, that's another 9 transactions, again, from the leads we've already generated. That's a total of 27 transactions from this one source. And so if that doesn't excite you, then I'm sorry. I don't know how to help you. Um, and I'm just talking about very simple conservative numbers. Again, this is scalable. You can scale this to whatever level you want. We've talked about that. But this is the whole concept. So that is why I believe Facebook is and Instagram, it's such a powerful marketing tool, right? I've showed you the myths of why people get stuck on Facebook, that it's literally a pay-per-view system, and ads are the way that we can really help you fix the visibility problem that you're really suffering from right now. You've seen the strategies that we use to generate leads and to turn those leads into clients, how we can improve our conversion rates very dramatically, not just by what we do with the ad itself, but also on the back end of what we're doing with our follow-up systems. We can significantly increase our lead conversion rate. So again, I'll put this here because a lot of people ask, Kevin, that was great. Can I get your slides? No problem. Just you can go here and download them. That's totally fine. But one of the things you want to keep in mind is that a lot of times when we go to a class, when I teach a class like this, people are like, that was awesome, but how do I implement it? Well, this is why our services exist. So we have everything that ranges from teaching you how to do it to online courses to even doing it for you. And so if you're ready to start implementing these systems and have it working for your business, we would love to have a conversation with you. And so what I'm going to do is down in the description below, I'm going to put a link where you can go and request a consultation with us. It's a strategy session where we're going to talk about your business needs and talk about what that would have to look like to be able to achieve those through this system. And so I encourage you, go check that out. Go check out that link down below. And we would love to be able to help you put these systems in place in your business. This is what we do all day, every day. And a lot of the reason I can share the screenshots that I'm sharing here and the testimonials and the results, the reason I can share all of that with you is because this is what we do. This is how we've helped hundreds of real estate agents solve these exact same problems in their business. So who this works for, it works great if you are wondering where your next deal is going to come from, if your pipeline is not as full as you would like it to be. Um, and really, if you know that you're a good agent, but you just don't have the marketing side figured out, the business side of this figured out, you are our perfect client. That is who we love to work with. If you're looking to get those systems in place to not only have leads coming in, but keeping you top of mind with your database where the bulk of your business is going to come from anyway, these are the systems we help agents put in place. So, love to have that conversation with you. Go check that out in the description below. Leave us a comment. What did you find helpful about the video? What was your big aha moment? What are you going to be doing different after watching this video? We want to hear those comments, and I'll be sure to respond to every single one of them. That's it. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you taking the time and hope this was absolutely transformational for your real estate business. And like I said, if we can help, let us know. We'd love to know how we can serve you and help you see these kind of results in your business. That's it. Make it a great week. Keep crushing it, and I'll talk to you soon.